In a week, the world will be marking one of the deadliest terror attacks known to humanity, 9/11. Today, international terror continues to threaten innocent lives across the globe, and not just in Israel. Joining us in the studio today is terror expert and Knesset member Dr. Anat Berko, whose latest book, The Smarter Bomb, studies what draws women and children to terror. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me, Natasha.
So to begin, tell us about this book. It just came out in its newest form, and it's gotten a lot of praise from the Israeli Prime Minister, even from Henry Kissinger.
Yeah, I'm very proud of that, because I wrote this book almost 6 years ago. It was published 4 years ago in America, and the publisher asked me, they told me, you predict so many things, so we would like you just to update the final words and to publish it in soft cover. So it will come very soon. In 2 weeks it will be, in Amazon. It's already there. And I think that what we see right now, it's a wave, a tsunami of minors involved in terrorism. Actually, from my point of view, also mass raping is terrorism. It's a form of terrorism.
Absolutely.
And we see more women involved in terrorism that push to the corner and try to stab soldiers or other things that we saw. And we see that the world is in danger. The September 11 event was not so many years ago. But people in America forgot that and think that it was just one time and that's it. And I can say that a few months ago, there was a guy in the Metro Center, a junction worker there, that he also tried to carry out a terror attack there. And there was a cell of terrorism. And I'm thinking about myself. When I was living in D.C., when I was a visiting professor at GW, taking the metro to Foggy Bottom station, through the Metro Center station, I cannot think about what could happen there, and the blast and the casualties, and so it's very dangerous. We're not speaking just about high towers like September 11, but metro stations, and we saw things like that, malls, shops, restaurants. We see what's happening in France, and I think, and not in Europe in general, that people, shouting at the street, Allahu Akbar, and shooting or stabbing and slaughtering people. And I think that we faced a tsunami of terrorism, and as I defined it in the Knesset, first day in the Knesset, a year and a half ago, I said it's a World War III, and we should be able to cope and to defeat it.
Now, let's talk a little bit more about your focus on children and women, more specifically adolescents. 50% of the recent terror attacks here in Israel were carried out by adolescents. Why is that the case?
One time, Hamas terrorists told me in jail when I interviewed him, the children are the small change. You can use them. Sometimes they are not effective because they don't kill enough people. They don't have, their mind is not focused, and they don't kill enough children. But I can tell you that we see the social media very active. We see the education system in the Palestinian Authority that just a few days ago on television, official from the Palestinian Authority said, look at that school, we have 60 shaheeds, martyrs from this school. He didn't speak about the achievements of the students, he didn't say anything. He said he counted the shaheeds, the martyrs from school. So I think that they want to get the recognition, and in this age, thrilled and adventurous, I would do something, I will show my peer groups how I'm acting, I'll put my face on the wall or the letter, the declaration that I'm going to be a shaheed, and and khalas in Arabic, it's like finish. This is the show, and the show is running.
So Israel has been faced with this moral dilemma. What do you do when you're dealing with a 14-year-old that's carrying out a terror attack against an innocent Israeli civilian? Right now we saw that the IDF actually just launched a new training program aimed at promoting non-lethal methods of confronting terrorists. How will this help Israel's ability to confront terror attacks from young people, if at all?
Natasha, the IDF, I served in the IDF 25 years. I can tell you this is the most moral army upon earth. We see that soldiers try not to shoot terrorists and to try to cope without casualties. But sometimes when a terrorist, even a 14-year-old boy, come and try to stab a female soldier or male soldier in the back, and they don't know if they have explosive belt on their body, they must, neutralize them. The other thing that I want to say, as a Knesset member, I actually promoted legislation against young minors terrorists. And we see that between the age of 12 and 14, you see a lot of children that use them, that the PA and others, incitement in the social media and television to carry out terror attacks. So in this age, they will be in a closed shelter, and after that, they will see if they can go to jail or not, to be able to prevent, because many times the terrorists actually use them as human shield and also abuse them in a way. You're a minor, go and stab a soldier, everything will be okay. The Israelis will feel sorry about you and you wouldn't go to jail. I interviewed youth like that, and they said, and after that, when we need to spend 20 years in jail, nobody comes even to visit us. So they just abused us.
Now, how is the Palestinian terror that's facing Israel right now different than what's happening in Europe? For example, we're seeing a rise in terror attacks in France, across Central Europe. Is there a difference? Is this related in any way?
I can see that I'm also a member, as a member of Knesset, head of delegation of OSCE. They're dealing with security staff, with the European parliamentarian, that they ignore and do not want to see the problem and do not want to define the problem. When they speak about foreign fighters, they don't speak about the jihadists. They don't say terrorists. They don't say Islamists. And I think that, let's say, we need to face it. A lot of Muslims are the first victims. Actually, most of the victims are Muslims. It's a fact. But many terrorists are Muslims, also Muslims. And we cannot ignore that. We have the Sunni version of ISIS, Daesh, and we have the Shia version of Hezbollah, Iran, and Assad, Alawite. So it's like we need to face it that we see right now a big, big war between the Sunni and the Shia, and also both of them against the West. And we see what's happening right now with Daesh. I think that it's just the tip of the iceberg. We see a lot of terror attacks, and I said it, just a month ago. I can tell you that from a Georgia conference, the last one that we have with the European parliamentarian, I spoke a few minutes and I told them, you need to define the enemy. You need to give a fight back. You cannot win this battle without that. And some of them agree with me, and some of them denied the problem and said, oh, we have Catholics that are terrorists, we have that and that. Excuse me, see what's happening with Daesh, this cruelty, how minors and antiquities and slaughtering people in the streets and killing people and killing and ruining cultures and history, like Palmyra, Tadmor. So I think that it's about time to say that to the Americans and also to the European, we have a big challenge and we need to cope, to put the ego aside and to collaborate all the security forces and actually to increase the awareness of the people in the streets, that there is a problem. Be aware if you see something wrong, be aware around you, and not to define like the terror attacks that Nidal Hassan carried out in Fort Hood, in Texas, Fort Hood unit, and they say, oh, it's a work violence, or this guy is crazy guy, and this he has a mental illness. No, not everybody is ill or have mental illness, and you see like a battalion of soldiers well equipped to fight this mentally ill, so-called mentally ill. Everybody know what is the problem, So go for it. Sure, not all the Muslims are terrorists, but we know that we should define it and fight it because it will be worse than now.
Well, it looks like it's going to have to be a global effort to combat what's now happening in Europe and obviously here in Israel. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me, Natasha.